All right, okay, g'day chemistry students. What we thought we might do is do a couple of videos for you while you're at home, just because you're missing out on the pracs and you're missing out on some of that learning in terms of safety and the types of glassware that we're going to be using over this next chapter 8. So first of all, safety. Whenever we're dealing with any glassware, even without toxic solutions or anything like that, we're always wearing our safety goggles because you can drop this, you can get shards of glass up into your face. So goggles are our default for any prac that we do. The other thing is you want to be really careful. We do see cuts with these things as people manipulate these and they snap and break. They're quite thin and dangerous. So you want to take care and respect the equipment. And I want to take you through some of these things that we use. Things that you're familiar with, like a measuring cylinder or a beaker or a conical flask. Okay, so you should know the names of these three things. They're quite obtuse sort of measuring devices. They've got like gradations on them, but they're not very accurate. So this one might be up to, plus or minus half a mil in terms of its accuracy. So while you think it might be fairly accurate, it's not really, and that's why we have these other things which I'm going to explain to you. So these are for mixing chemicals generally, or just generally holding chemicals. Beaker, conical flask. We have our watch glass. This is useful for putting on a scale and then weighing out solute onto that. You should be familiar with those terms, solute, solvent and solution. If you're not, look those up and make sure you get a definition in your little rules section in your summaries. Filter funnel, putting filter paper in or just transferring liquids and things. So they're the basics there. What you may not have seen is some of these other things. This is called a bulb pipette. This is a very accurate bit of equipment. This is accurate to, it's a bit hard for me to see that there now, plus or minus 0.05 of a mil, okay? So this is a 25 mil bulb pipette, and what this is used for is for transferring liquids. So if I was to just have a liquid in this beaker and I wanted to transfer 25 mils of that into this conical flask over here, I would take something like this. This is a pipette filler, all right? Now, the big mistake a lot of students do is they try and jam that on there, and sometimes it's a bit tight. What can happen as you're jamming that is it snaps midway down the neck and then goes through your hand, and then you're bleeding everywhere, and it's no good. You want to hold that right up near the top, okay, where you've got some strength, and that way you can just put it on, not too tight, just for a nice seal. What you can't see on the video is on this there's the letter A, the letter S, and the letter E. Okay, so A is to expel the air. You push that in, and then you squeeze it, and that'll make a little vacuum inside that, and then you can press S, which, yes, you guessed it, stands for suck. It doesn't refer to your online learning, but it refers to its ability to suck up this liquid. And Richard might come up and just get a little close up there. You can see that there's a little graduation there in blue, and if I press E on this bulb pipette now, you'll watch here as the liquid will go down, okay? And the bottom of the meniscus there is touching the line, and that means it's exactly 25 mils. So what I do is then I take this whole apparatus across and I place it into my conical flask there, and you can see the water. If I press expel, you can see the water slowly running down and out and into the conical flask. What you'll find as it gets to the end, it'll stop even if you're pressing expel, and you can see a tiny little bit of fluid here. All right, and you might think, oh, hang on, that's not accurate, but it is calibrated to account for that bit of fluid there. So if you touch that, what you want to do is touch that on the side and let surface tension just drag out that final drop for 10 seconds, all right? And there's a drop of water just being dragged out there, you can see that. But you'll still see that there's some fluid left in there, and you're not to worry about that. That's just calibrated. You've got now exactly 25 mils in there in an accurate, using this accurate piece of glassware. Particularly next year you'll be using burettes, okay, and we use a funnel in the top. We clamp this with a retort stand and we pour liquids into this, and this gives us a really accurate way of dispensing liquids and controlling how much liquid we pour in to something else. All right. Our next prac that we'll be using, or a prac coming up, we'll be using these volumetric flasks. Okay, these are far more accurate than any of this other glassware here and here. This has a graduated line as well, etched into the glass. All right, and this is accurate to, it says plus or minus 0.15 mil on the front. This is a 250 mil volumetric flask, and when we're trying to make solutions of accurate concentration, which we'll in a prac or two, that is where we store those. Okay. And once you make that, you mix it, you put that little lid on, you invert it 3 times to make sure it's fully mixed, and then there you have a nice accurate piece of volumetric glassware. So that's the range of stuff we'll be using over the next chapter. Carry on.